felt this warmth coming to my head. And now I know nothing about anything. I don't believe in any divine. I don't believe in any of it. I'm just an angry, super exhausted, sick person. I feel like my body was a ticking time bomb. And I felt like information came to me, and it said, if you change everything about yourself, you will live. But if you don't, then your light will eventually dim again. My story begins when I was 24 years old. I think it was about 2007, 2008. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And it took me by shock. I had no idea what autoimmune meant. It was just an absolute shock to my system when the symptoms came. So I decided to take matter in my own hands, and I decided to try to heal with food or with anything. I spent about 8 months on the internet trying to research of what I can do so I don't have to be on pharmaceutical drugs for the rest of my life. And I came to the conclusion that everything I put in my digestion is causing me to get sick. So I decided to go on a very strict diet, which means I eliminated dairy, meat, sugars, gluten, and I stuck to that diet for about 10 years. In that path, I actually opened up 3 restaurants because I was really frustrated that I couldn't go anywhere to eat because I needed to eat a very strict diet. I drank the green juice, I made the barley, I was actually, what I created was a huge prison for myself. And it was extremely lonely and frustrating. And I was angry at my body. I was angry at myself because I felt like a failure. Because from what I researched, I realized it has to be the food. And during the time when I was opening up the restaurants and getting sicker and sicker, my mom was in a massive car accident in Europe, which caused me to go move there for a few months to take care of her. And that was a very traumatic event for me. And when I got back home, I was exhausted from working so much, having kids, being on a restrictive diet for all those years. I was in the shower one day and I found a lump in my breast. I was 32 years old and they diagnosed me with stage 2 breast cancer. And I remember going into the hospital to get a biopsy, and in that moment, I was so frustrated that I kind of internally was in such agony. And I said to myself, if there is a God or whatever that is out there, I really give up because I've tried everything and I'm dying. And a really interesting thing happened to me in the hospital is that I was shaking in fear because I was alone in this bed. And something really interesting happened to me. I felt this warmth coming to my head. And now I know nothing about anything. I don't believe in any divine. I don't believe in any of it. I'm just an angry, super exhausted, sick person. I feel like my body was a ticking time bomb. And I felt like I had this tube in my chest. This is what I kind of saw. I knew nothing. And it was replaced. And I felt like information came to me. And it said, if you change everything about yourself, you will live. But if you don't, then your light will eventually dim again. And I thought, what the heck is this? Like, I had no idea. Now when I go back, I think I had an upgrade because after that day, the colitis disappeared. So I went on to this mission of self-discovery. I went to the hospital. I had a surgery and I walked away because this is the first time that I felt I was listening to myself. I knew if I took more drugs that for me, was not the right decision. So I walked away, and that's when I found Dr. Joe's work. I listened to one of his Hay House talks back in 2015, and he said, you have to change everything about yourself to heal. And I thought, oh, that's the same thing I heard, like the download I got in the hospital. So I never read his books. I just started meditating too. Like one of his first meditations, the only place I could find was the bathroom so that I could have alone time. I would lay on the floor and meditate. And at that time, I had a lot of words in my hands. And I did the meditations every single day, the same one. And I actually felt kind of spooked out by them because at that time they were kind of new. And my ward fell off. I remember I had this awakening and I felt like I was the universe. And I woke up and my ward fell off. And I was like, hold on, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. Within like about 4 years, some other life events happened to me in my life and my symptoms started coming back. I have to change something else. There's something in my environment, something internally that I'm responding to that I have no idea where it's at, what I'm doing. So that took me on a very, very deep journey of self-discovery one more time. And I really got into the books and the meditations, and I took it a step further. I started to look online to find people who have overcame the impossible. That is something that really awakened me, and I was watching the testimonials all the time. When I was in that situation of symptoms, it was extremely difficult for me to actually think outside the box. I was like run by fear, self-resentment, self-anger, because I was so upset that I'm in that state again. What I did when I got the symptoms back was I just went back to the old self. Diet change, more restrictions. I think I was eating like 5 foods. What medication, what supplement, what do I need to do to like heal? And it wasn't working. When I went to Indian Wells, I had a coherence healing. But before the coherence healing, I said to myself, I'm going to go there and I'm just going to let go of every belief that I have, especially about the food, because the food was one huge imprisonment for me. Deep down inside, I knew that wasn't truth for me. I knew that total healing isn't me restricting myself. I felt like the food was a crutch for me, but I needed a deeper understanding of what I needed to do to understand the symptoms and heal from them. So when I went to California, I said, I'm leaving everything behind me. I went there and I had coffee, I had bacon, I had eggs, I had cheese, I had everything. And my body actually didn't have any symptoms. That event that actually changed everything for me. What were the feelings that I had? So I had the feelings of independence. I had the feelings of safety. I had the feelings of, I was confident in myself. I had the feelings of just joy. But the biggest one was independence and freedom. 99% of the healing happened when I had my eyes open. When I would go out there and I would get triggered and I would feel that emotion of whatever it was, anger or resentment or frustration. And it was so big, but I noticed it. I would excuse myself. I would go to a bathroom or whatever I would do. I would just put my hands in my heart center and I would just lean into it and just welcome it and move through it and listen or feel into what information it carried. And I really truly believe in this work because it has been 7 years since the breast cancer situation happened. And I truly believe that the colitis symptoms that were coming up for me, which were not existent anymore, were true teachers for me not to land up where I was 7 years ago. And that for me is everything. There's no greater healing than going inwards and really not being afraid of my body anymore and really not being afraid of those emotions. And it just took step by step. One day I could only be with the emotion for a second. The next day I could only be with it for 2. But I just didn't give up.